we're putting the faith that things like OpenAI, in this case, because they're like a marketplace, or Google or Azure or Microsoft, they do the right thing as a platform to protect us as consumers.
Welcome to the /podcast, where we lean into the future of IT by inviting fellow thought leaders, innovators, and problem solvers to slash through its complexity. I'm your host, James Carman, and today we're talking to Joel Vasallo. Joel is the Senior Director of Platform Engineering at TAG, or the Aspen Group, covering cloud, DevOps, delivery, and SRE strategy. Also, a Google Developer Group organizer for Chicago, running monthly meetups and events to help grow the Chicago tech scene. Welcome back to the /, Joel.
Thanks for having me, James. I'm glad to be back.
I think we recorded together about a year ago. And if I recall, you were coming back from KubeCon. Is that correct? I think that's right.
Yeah, I think it was like this time in December or January. Yeah, I was just getting back from KubeCon. Just similar story this year. I was there about a month and a half ago too.
Yeah, what's changed? Same thing next year, right?
Yeah, let's do it. If we want to have a reoccurring, I'm happy to always kick off every New Year podcast if you'll have me.
I would love it. All right. So how was KubeCon this year? What was the vibe like at KubeCon?
Man, honestly, it was in Atlanta, so just without a technology, it was probably the coldest day in Atlanta. I went with jeans and a shirt and a hoodie, but I needed a full winter coat. It was actually colder in Atlanta than it was here in Chicago.
Whoa, that's weird.
Yeah. So that was a little bit of a shocker. But overall, though, the event as a whole, it depends on what you make it. To me, I try to find a hybrid of a few of the beaten track conversations as well as vendor central and then ultimately just tech talks. But overall, it was great. I think, last year, if I recall, we were talking about platform engineering into AI was becoming the focus. A lot of companies they're talking about their adoption and build towards AI initiatives. This year was basically going from cloud native to AI native. Almost everything, if not everything, was built with it. If we're talking AI infrastructure, AI monitoring, AI advancements of agentic platforms, how do we support things like MCP servers and such like that, agent gateways, the whole 9 yards, load balancing the stuff. It was actually super, super cool. But to kind of cap it off, even also, we had good conversations on FinOps and just cost and cluster management. So I feel like this year was, in some regards, an upgrade to the concept from last year. Because last year was a lot of we saw a lot of the big players like Apple and Google pitching all this stuff. And this year was a lot of other companies adopting to it. So it was actually super cool to see.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of conferences, they fancy themselves as the benefit of the conference is those hallway conversations. Is that the vibe at KubeCon? I've not been to KubeCon myself yet.
Oh, yeah.
Is that you have a lot of good hallway talks there?
1,000%. I've been to a lot of conferences. I still think the stuff, the programming that the CNCF and the Linux Foundation as a whole are putting out together, supporting great initiatives, it's awesome. Yes, I feel like I get the best of both worlds as a leader. I got, my vendor crawl, if you will, of what tools I need to buy or look into. But even there, that's where it starts shifting. There's a part of that entire vendor hall that's just dedicated purely to open source projects and incubating projects. So I got both sides of that part of my brain tickled, if you will. And then, the value of just being able to talk to my peers, just, get to know what's real in the industry, have a heart-to-heart conversation. It's good that not everything had a price tag. Let me put it like that. If it was good, just sometimes it's even talk strategy. And that's something that I think a lot of conferences lack. It's what tools, what should I buy? What should I do? Well, hey, here are the challenges.
What, did anything jump out at you as a surprise for either the vendors or on the open source side in that vendor hall of technologies that you're wow, I didn't know about that. And I am definitely looking into this when I get home. Anything like that, or even I'm going to look into this in my hotel room.
No, I always like to give good call outs. I think the folks at Solo continue to live by and deliver an open source standard. That company basically built a lot of modern gateways within Kubernetes, and even so much to the fact that they donated their gateway to Kubernetes, or to the CNCF rather, but they're also even donating components of the AI infrastructure to to CNCF and Linux Foundation, which is awesome. So to me, like I think a lot of focus is now getting matured as to like the things that we're actually tangibly building in our day to day. So it's good to see companies like that do that stuff because it's not just like, hey, we're just building this and obviously making a profit. That's obviously how you keep things online, but it's good to see that they're still at their core very much an open source company, especially as they've grown and been extremely successful. We have things like Agent Gateway now. We have agent registries, MCP gateways, AI gateways. It was good to see.
So that's the solo.io folks, right?
Yeah, Solid.io folks, really good stuff over there for your in the infrastructure land there. Check them out.
So funny. Pinged. So I think he's like field CTO, Christian Pasta.
He's awesome.
I was reading an article. It was actually a research paper yesterday. It was something about AI or whatever. I was doing some research and one of the citations said Pasta 2025. And I'm like, that's gotta be him. So I pinged him on and I looked and of course it was him. And I pinged him on LinkedIn to say, hey, like we go back from like the Apache Software Foundation days. So they're in good hands. When it comes to open source, that dude knows his stuff. Like he's very, very sharp and he was very involved in open source. So yeah, they're in good hands as far as open source is concerned for sure. And maybe I need to see if he wants to come on the podcast because he'd be a great guest. He's a really, really sharp guy. It's weird. That name keeps popping up. So they're doing something right. That's like the third time this week that there's been a mention of that company. So that's hilarious.
I mean, they're basically at the forefront of a lot of, there's a lot of players in this space. So I'm sure there's people that are other places, but them and they are leading the charge along with other companies on how we ingest, how we develop, and how we build, how we make Kubernetes more than just pods and deployments. How do we
Mhm.
actually build AI practices for our companies, right? Like they fundamentally kind of coming up with those pieces and like repeatable patterns is pretty tough, right? I mean, that's the whole thing behind DevOps, right? Especially for our organizations. Coming up with like formats and things for people to follow, make it easy for people to adapt and grow, right? And that's tough. And they're good leaders in that space, and I'd say that's good to hear.
So Solo stood out to you. Anybody else?
Yeah, there was a few other companies and a few other platforms. I mean, I always like to see, open telemetry continue to just be the de facto standard from a telemetry perspective again, and its core, not AI first, but with all the things around it, there's some pretty cool things. The folks at Sentry and the folks at Grafana, they're doing some great things. There's a Grafana assistant. Like, I'm sure a lot of us who work in tech, we know what a Grafana dashboard is or have heard of Grafana, but building a Grafana dashboard is not nearly as fun. Like, there's a lot of like data queries and stuff. They actually
Yeah,
just rolled out like a thing called the Grafana Assistant where you can just say, hey, make me a dashboard based on this data, and it's actually able to query and do the Prometheus queries or the Open Telemetry queries and generate it for you. So I
that's
think that's
cool.
unfortunately in their commercial offering, so you have to be a little bit of a
Mm.
customer. But as a whole, though, it's cool to see that get built out because that opens up like other areas where people are going to start doing that too.
Yeah, I think that's a huge trend towards the tail end of 25 that a lot more kind of those TUIs, the textual user interface where you just type in, this is what I want, and the system goes and does that. I think we're going to see a lot more of that in 26. Looking forward to that. I think it's kind of a um, cool way to interact with your users. I think that'll be kind of fun
Yeah,
to play around with.
it's exciting to see it too because I mean, in addition to like us interfacing with these tools to make them, translate to what we do in a day to day, there's also the other side of it of monitoring all this like agentic and generative stuff, right? It's kind of like knowing how to monitor things that don't exist yet, right? You may be making an agent, you don't know guaranteed at least what that response is going to be. I mean, you have a high degree of confidence as to what, based on how you influence it and what data you feed it, what it's going to respond back. But it's all in the word generative, right? It's not deterministic. It's not going to give you back the same response unless you program it to give back the same response. Me asking like, "Hey, how are you doing today?" It's gonna be like different response from one to the other. It's all temperatures and gauges, but like with that, like there's monitoring solutions that are now coming up with monitoring the token sizes, monitoring the performance and the speed of these gateways and the agents and stuff. So, it's cool to see like that because it kind of gives me, at least to me, it excites me a lot because it reminds me of like when we were first getting pods and monitoring Kubernetes and scaling that. Now we're scaling basically agents and gateways.
Yeah, I think a lot. We've been frustrated, I think, with AI and it's not so much a false start, but it's kind of there's been a lot of hype and
Yeah.
everybody, for a while, what was the phrase that somebody would said to me that was like, it's kind of a crude analogy, but they said AI is like, sex in middle school. Everybody's talking about it, but nobody's doing it kind of thing. But I think it's kind of a natural progression of how we adopt new technology. We see a new technology. We don't know what this thing is yet. And we need to bring it in, tinker with it, learn what it can do, and then expand on that and come up with new ideas and get inspiration. And you kind of just get this like recurring waves of inspiration once you use it and like, oh, wow, I can do that. Really cool. Let me try this. So I think that's just a natural part of it. We just needed to be patient, and we're starting to really see it pick up steam now, I think, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, the direct quote I think we all kind of in the industry as a collective saw was what was I think it was I want to say it was something like 90-95% of AI pilots fail.
Hmm.
I mean, and then you look at how much we're burning into this industry, and you're like, oh, you know, as a whole, though, I mean, I think that with that and being said, I mean, there is a general hype to it, but I think there is some real benefit of it. It does build into like fundamentally knowing how to kick off and strategize pilots. I've seen a lot of pilots and thoughts and these things just kind of crash and burn because it wasn't really rooted in usable day to day, right? Like no one
Hmm.
wants a chat bot every day, for everything, right? Like I think we want like more experiences that we find. Like for example, the Grafana thing. Like I love Grafana as a platform. I know I stink at making good, pretty dashboards, but now this tool is able to build on things that are well received and well trained to reproduce it, right? Like that's a positive and tangible example there. But me asking what, like, tell me the weather, tell me the answer. I don't know. That's kind of
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't need all that. But I think, a lot of the companies are doing that, as you're saying, like creating a Grafana dashboard can be tedious. It takes a lot of steps and all that stuff. I know like Databricks, I went to a conference of theirs last year and they were showing one of their features where it was kind of the same thing. You say, well, I want to see this data, right? And it goes and finds it from your catalog and displays, whether it's graphs or whatever, or answers your question. But I think that's that democratization. Like it's making it easier and more approachable to do some of these things that might have been, you could figure it out over time with enough time and tinkering, you figure out your Grafana dashboard. Boy, it sure is kind of cool to say, I'd like to see, how many pods are failing per hour, or blah, 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 whatever. Just type it out in text. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So feels like this AI thing may be here to stay for a little while. Maybe. Am I going on a limb here or what?
I mean, I actually gave a talk about this like at because it was around practical AI because
Mm.
I what the talk was more so grounded on like giving people who aren't AI specialists like or are data specialists because really to like do like fundamental core like it's really machine, right? You're training a model, you're asking questions to a dedicated model or a large language model in this case, and getting a response. Whether you're doing predictive or generative AI, I wanted like people who are just run of the mill technical people, like the cloud engineers, SREs, delivery engineers. What's my role in this? Like, and I think it's about measuring how you use these tools in your day to day, how you implement it into your workflow. I think there are tangible benefits of utilizing this. I know certainly that I don't write the best emails, and sometimes I feel like I'm droning on and on. I'm like, all right, say this, but like with 2 sentences instead of four, right? Make this a little bit more sharper, make it more direct. I've certainly seen like benefits day to day on that, but I think it's just a matter of like how we do it. But then ultimately, as an org, how do you measure it? I think that's where I find a lot of questions.
Yeah, I think a lot of the use cases where we've adopted the exact same thing you're talking about, like write me an email, or synthesize this information into a short, succinct email for me to send to my colleague, blah blah blah, those sort of things. Those are very hard to kind of attribute directly to the AI, and they don't show up in those greater numbers. Like I'm not getting greater sales because I write more succinct emails, or like it's hard to kind of quantify that and bring that to the surface to say that number right there, that number changed, and that's directly because we did ChatGPT as an enterprise, whatever, right? Or we rolled out Copilot, Microsoft Copilot. That number right there changed because we did that. It's hard. It's very indirect, the tracing to say where the benefit came from. There's a lot of hops that happen to get to there. And who knows? Maybe people just had, more time in their day to play Block Blast, and then they just used it for that. So we didn't get any benefit.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. I think that's what, but I do I agree with you. Like we need to be pragmatic about it. And I think the conversation has been changing towards the tail end of 2025. The conversation was definitely changing. People were talking about ROI more often. They were like, let's make sure we state, here's what business objective we think we're going to achieve by this effort. So they were kind of getting out of that toy phase and getting more into like what we traditionally would do. State your business objective. Why do you think this is going to achieve that? How are you going to measure that? Get a little more rigorous about these things.
Yeah, and I think that part of it goes because, it went from something of, we should adopt it to now it's something that we're doing. And obviously, anytime you start doing something, it usually costs money. And if it doesn't cost money, it costs time, which is also equivalent, might as well just cost money. I think that's really the reason why that all started kind of coming up, because now it's a matter of we're asking, are the things that we've built being used? Are they performing to what we expect? More importantly, especially if some of these things are customer facing, you got to like start thinking like, is this providing what I feel is a good response to my customers? Right.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we certainly don't want to be like a kiosk that just like, I don't think that's like, I hate to call it like fast food joints, but I think what was it, the White Castle, where someone said, I want to order 99,000 burgers or something, and it crashed the kiosk. And it was like, hi, can I help you? Like we got to start thinking about like where it makes sense, how to implement it. And yeah.
What do you how do you think we're doing on? I don't know. Some of this stuff I feel like it's just hasn't quite settled yet. Like the whole MCP server thing, that feels very, I don't know. Just I mean, I don't say that I don't like MCP, but I'm saying like how people use MCP servers. I just don't feel like that has settled to a point where it's like, oh yeah, that seems like the right way to do that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, like I think as a whole, we're finally coming to grasp now. I mean, MCP is officially a donated effort to CNCF, which is awesome, by the way. So props to the teams that have done that as a standard. But I feel a lot of folks created MCP servers, plugged them into our LLM and into our tools of choice. But like, I don't think that translated to anything outside of like internal developers or tech folks. I
Hmm.
think we're still missing like that. I'll use an example. If I made an MCP server, I'm not going to expect my parents or my grandparents to be like, hey, go talk to it and schedule go book a movie or go buy a ticket to the next movie or something. I don't know. I feel like there has to be like a consumer facing way of interfacing with it. Like what I have seen though recently, OpenAI, for example, I think in December or a little bit before that, they announced the concept of apps. Instead of going to booking.com and getting a hotel, you just chat with it by installing or by interfacing with the installed booking.com chat GPT app. So like that to me is a good exposure of what MCP can be. But otherwise, we're just basically kind of exposing gateways and APIs, for lack of a better explanation, right? Like an MCP server is a gateway into a bunch of tools behind the
Hmm.
scenes, right?
Yeah,
Translating it and streamlining it, no doubt about it, making things better in terms of how to flow things in. But at its face value, it's not something that you just give to people. People have to configure them, especially if there's authentication and things like that, right?
sure,
The
absolutely.
consumer facing side is missing.
Yeah. Well, it didn't help that like the early MCP servers, all of them were like, here, run this on your local machine and then interact with it through standard IO.
Yeah.
What? Like, who does that? Like you said, your mom and dad are not going to fire up some local process in a Docker container and interact with it via standard IO. That's just not going to happen.
I mean, what was it? The Google Cloud. Google Cloud didn't have a remote MCP server up until like what, November or late early December, right? So like there's an example. Like although after that, before people had to run random Docker containers either in their infrastructure internally or on their laptops, like it works. It's functional. I'm a tech guy. I get it, but it's not like as nice as like going into Cloud Console and click create server, right? Like it's not as it required some work and some understanding.
Yeah. It's weird because the phenomena of generative AI, which is really funny, is that technology got in the hands of grandmas and grandpas. I called it the Papaw paradox on one of our episodes. Like your grandparents were interacting with Chat GPT, probably clumsily, I'm sure, but before like CEOs are talking about integrating and implementing it in their organizations. So that, which is kind of, we flipped it on its head. But then this whole tooling mechanism has just taken the opposite path. It's I don't know. It's just interesting that something that came in guns ablazing, consumer first, went completely opposite path for all of the tooling around it, which I thought
Yeah,
was kind of weird.
in thinking about it, like the way I see it is like MCPs, skills, all these things. They're the attempts to try and create the standards to build. more,
Hmm.
right? Like
Sure.
very
It's a
similar, like
convergence.
kind of, yeah, exactly. So like I can understand why it wasn't like, why it's a little bit more techie focused, because it's really not meant for the consumer. But I think now, hopefully, again, I'll use OpenAI's ChatGPT as an example, like the apps concept. Hopefully, that's something that evolves in time, and these interfaces to how we built to access the things that we're building behind the scenes. This is like the pathway to it, right? Like, we're building the road. We had a way to talk to chat like a LLM, but now we're trying to like build these experiences on top of these language models.
Are you worried in any way? We're just scratching the surface of kind of the art of the possible on all of this generative AI stuff. Are you worried in any way about like, so if I put a nefarious MCP server in the app store and I'm getting context information, like OpenAI is sending me information like that I've been chatting with it about, like what if I was like, oh, here's my blood results. Tell me what I should be worried about. And then it sends that off to an MCP server and now my healthcare data is, you know what I mean? Like, are
Yeah.
we worried about that?
I mean, it's. I hate to kind of use the example. It's like it's the same trust and that we have to kind of build with how we deploy iOS and Android apps today, right? Like, can there be a fake, Epic healthcare app out there? Sure, there totally could be, but there has to be enough regulation in the platforms that are supporting it. Like, Google downranks those, or at least tries to scan them, like the iOS App Store. I know because I've personally seen a lot of builds fail trying to publish our apps out there. It's not easy. Like there's a lot of there's testing, there's validation. Hey, this is a trademark image. You can't use that, right? They flag things like that. So we're putting the faith that things like OpenAI in this case, because they're like a marketplace, or Google or Azure or and Microsoft, they do the right thing as a platform to protect us as consumers, as people. We kind of that mutual trust that we have.
Yeah, it seems like there's opportunity for Apple to shine here yet again. I don't know. They seem to have done the App Store from a consumer standpoint, they've done it the right way. They do I think the best job. Now, are they ripping off the developers? That's a different story. But
We
from the
can have another
consumer
talk about that
standpoint,
one.
yeah. From a consumer standpoint, I think they do a really good job of protecting that consumer experience. They're very guarded in their app store. That's a very walled garden for them. So they make sure that things is OpenAI going to be as responsible for that? Are they even set up to be that responsible? I mean, we're putting a lot of like faith in them to do that at this point because it's not something they've ever done. I
Yep.
don't know. It'd be interesting to see. But they are partnered, I think, Apple and OpenAI, so that could be something that, yeah,
Well, we'll
maybe
see how that all plays out. I think as a whole, I think this year is going to be how to get the tools that each of us in our respective worlds get in the hands of the consumer, and more importantly, start having like a little bit more solidified internal strategy. I think like the conversation shifted from, hey, I could summarize your emails, to now I can use your emails to do something else, to create a spreadsheet, which that spreadsheet will translate into a Looker dashboard. And that Looker dashboard, I'll have it email you every morning. Like building those connected flows is, I think, what we're starting to see. And I say that with even respects non-technical users, non-developers are starting to think like that. Whereas
Mhm.
us as developers, we always, like, oh yeah, method calls this, access the database, pull the data. Now we're starting to see people that are non-developers start thinking essentially with the higher level building blocks. Now they're not building the functions to do that. They're asking something to do that option. Like, hey, you are an agent and your responsibility is to access data from Looker or from BigQuery. You are an agent and your response is to take data from BigQuery and create a dashboard. Like, and then connecting those two dots, I think that's what we're starting to see, like even non-technical building, like agentic workflows.
Yeah, this is going to be the next kind of line of discussion there is going to get into the agentic world. I mean, last year we heard a lot of people talking about it. It was, again, one of those, everybody's talking about it, nobody's doing it kind of thing. They're very toy. People were calling things agents that were little better than an API call. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I have a weather agent. And it's like, it's not really an agent, right? It's not doing things autonomously in any way, shape, or form. You're doing an API call. But I think we have the sophistication level, the maturity level has risen again towards the tail end of 2025. I do think we're starting to see things that are more, I mean, like the developer tools, wow, like they're getting pretty doggone sophisticated, right? So
Yeah.
that will start making its way out into more consumer facing. I mean, we're consumers, but I mean like general population, right? I think they'll start seeing those sort of things. And I think the expectations will rise too. So
Yeah,
that'll
I
be
think so
interesting to see.
too.
But what's your take on that agentic thing? Where are we at?
Yeah, I mean, Well, one to touch on the developer tools. I mean, things like Claude Code. I mean, we have everyone entering in the arena now. We have Google's what do they have? Anti Gravity now. They announced
Hmm.
that. We have Claude Code. We have Codex. We have GitHub Copilot. Good old trusty Copilot there, still kicking butt too. Like I think as a whole, the tools are just amazing. You know, even Windsurf and Cursor, right? Which you didn't too, but it's just it's very cool to see. Just hey, I want to make this and create it for me, and you just like hit yes, or what I like to call it, where you just say,
Yeah.
hey, do it all for me, and I don't care what you do, just get it done. Comes with some risks, but I mean, the developer tools for sure. But I think what we're starting to see is, and I think the reason why we're seeing like this growth of like workflows with agents is these major platforms that a lot of these agents are getting built in, like, you know, Azure Foundry, Vertex AI, Google, AWS is like Bedrock suite there. They're building essentially managed connectors in some regards where we don't have to like figure out how to pull data from Jira. We just literally plug in an API key in Azure or at Google will figure out how to interface and collect data from those sources. So people don't have to be like API experts to build that agent behind the scenes. They just literally say, hey, I have a data source called Confluence. I have a agent that uses that data source and does queries against it. So it's becoming like honestly, like what I'm seeing is it's kind of killing my technology buzz a little bit is it's really like low code that's really winning here, which is what I see a lot. You know, like no, I mean,
All right.
I'm
Too
not a
bad you
data.
couldn't stay. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's like oh, like it's just a bunch of drag and drop. Like you know, it is cool because I can respect everything behind the scenes that's going on.
Hmm.
I know, because when if you look at the prompt, there's a Python script behind the scenes. You know, it's calling pandas and stuff, right? Doing data analysis. But like at its core, you're like, oh, like I wish I would have a little bit more. It's like it's. I think that's what we're surviving. Why those workflows are starting to grow because it's becoming easy to adopt, easy to do. A lot of lift, a lot of things to set up. But once that stuff is set up, it's really just dragging and dropping in some regards.
Yeah, I mean, it was maybe a little bit of a tangent, but you just kind of made me think about this, and it's kind of churning in my brain. So I'm just going to spit it out. It's funny, like we do this stuff like MCP and all of that, but as you were saying, like APIs, like the LLMs can figure out how to talk to APIs behind the scenes in those MCP tools. Part of that exchange is there's an open API specification. There's a JSON spec for what goes in, what comes out, that sort of thing. Let me know what does my request look like, what does my response look like. We're already doing that with APIs. We didn't need the MCP server other than a way of discovery. We could just, I mean, the LLMs can, if you point them at an
That's
API
what we were
and
doing
they,
before. That's how it
yeah,
started,
if you
right?
know
Before
the where,
MCP.
yeah, where to get the open API specification for the API, you can reverse engineer it yourself. Like the LLM could do that. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. If it's like almost kind of like a crawler, so to speak, right? That it can say, oh, just point me at an API. I'll figure out how to talk to it. You know?
Yeah. I think like MCPs really like they're good. Their biggest thing is going to be a token efficiency and routing efficiency, right? Like
Mhm. Yeah.
making sure that like I'm not burning tokens on. I see you have an open API spec. Let me read the entire spec. Well, I see you have a function. Let me call this function. Really, what it's doing is providing a wrapper where you're saying, "Hey, I need to talk to this. Oh, I see it has a function that matches the description of what you're trying to do. I'm going to use that." Like eliminate a lot of that discovery. But I mean, like even these like kind of going back away from MCP, like on these agent builders, like the workflow builders are even automated. Like using like Gemini Enterprise, like they have a new like agent builder where it's like kind of a low code way of building things. I literally got prompted like, "Hey, create me an agent," and it literally created like the workflows and all the steps between them to like to create like essentially like a ticket automation workflow inside of like with no code written. So I was like, man, even like the concept of building these workflows is getting automated too. It's almost like where does it stop? And I think it's honestly like we're gonna get to a point where you can chat with the machine and it's just gonna give you back what you want. Or as close to it as possible.
Not to interact with human beings ever again. This is gonna be great. I'm just
Exactly.
kidding.
It's great.
And get all my food delivered to my house. I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
do they have those delivery robots by you yet?
No, we don't. I don't. Well, I don't. I mean,
You know
I'm
what I
out in
mean?
the
Like,
burbs.
I've seen them in Chicago. They're just starting they're not it's not really much AI, it's just something off the topic, but I've seen so many like autonomous food delivery bots. And at a certain point, I have to wonder, like, is this going to turn into the scooter problem?
Yeah.
Like where
Yeah,
Lyft
exactly.
got scooters and Bird
Yeah.
had scooters, and we have scooters all over the place.
Now,
I don't know.
Chicago's a tough town. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
those. So are those delivery robots making their way around town? Okay, are they not getting impeded, or is there?
I seen one get hit by a car. So I was like, does that thing get workman's comp or something?
That's right,
So
exactly.
I don't know. It's just, yeah. No, I've seen them around. Honestly, actually, I've seen them get stuck in snow. I think it's yeah. We're obviously having fun right now, but it just came to me. I don't know. That's actually a good question. I've seen ads on them now. I
Yeah.
saw an HBO Max ad on them now,
Oh
and it's
my
kind
god,
of
they're putting
funny
ads on the robots themselves. Oh
on
my
the
goodness.
robots, and they're starting to give them names too. Like if you like bump into on the streets, like, "Hi, my name is Jacob." It's like, "Hello, Jacob.
Well,
Nice
hey,
to see
Jacob.
you." Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry.
human beings can be kind of gross and silly at times. I gotta imagine, like some of these robots are seeing some things that they shouldn't be seeing. You know what I mean? Like they're getting, they're not having a great time. I'm guessing in some of these cities. I don't
Yeah.
know.
People honking at them. People like throwing cans at them or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down with our AI overlords,
Yes, exactly.
our robot overlords.
Yeah, you're gonna get the Luddites just beating up on these poor robots, and I'm just trying to deliver a taco to this guy. Come on.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right, and we are having fun. This is kicking off the new year. This is one of our first recordings of the year. So again, thank you for coming back. But like, what are you seeing? Like, okay, you just got back from KubeCon. In your world, are there any places where you're like, I really was looking for a solution to this problem at KubeCon. I was hoping that there would be an AI solution, but I didn't see anything. Is there anything like that going on right now where you're like, man, okay, maybe by the end of 26, we'll start to get into that area and start finally solving that problem? Anything like that?
Kind of, sort of, looking into like platform engineering as a whole. Platform engineering was built on the idea of unifying a developer ecosystem. And that's good when things are very definitive. But right now, a lot of things are changing. I mean, literally, we talked about agents the whole time we're here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yep.
things are getting built left from right, and again, they're generative. I think, and I don't want to say it's not happening. It's just, where do we, what was it, a few years ago? IDPs were the hot thing, internal
Mm-hmm.
developer portals. Hey, I got Backstage, I got Cortex, I got Port. Right? Building all these like unified experiences for our developers to make them productive. I mean, I know some developers that aren't even using UIs anymore. They're just literally chatting with interfacing their IDE. So, I think building that connected experience is going to evolve. Again, and I want to be respectful because it's a space that I'm in too. I don't think IDPs are going away. I think that there's going to have to be a thought as to like how people interface with these. Like once they're in there, what's the value add? Why would I use an IDP when I could use an MCP server, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
For example, or a connected tool in some platform. So I think like that. I mean, the best people I've seen kind of take on it right now, like the Port folks. They rebranded themselves. Hi folks from Port, if you watch it, but they're like, we're no longer a IDP. We are agentic platform engineering. I'm like, okay, great. Now we have the agentic word there. Like
Check that
but
box.
yeah, exactly. Like we are an AI first portal, so it's cool like to see that. But I think what we're starting to see is like at least now they are showing like the workflows behind it, and that's starting to make sense. So going from like a page duty incident, whereas before we would get page, wake up, do some investigation, fix it, send it all clear, write an RCA, send it out. They're starting to build those workflows in the portal. Now that to me that's a value add. That's kind
Mm-hmm.
of taking all these connected resources that I took and to make like a Backstage or whatever functional, bringing those data sources, but also ultimately creating workflows automatically, right?
Okay.
And I think that's one of the ones that we're trying to pilot right now. We're trying to like create like an automatic incident response. Obviously, not communicating to our customers when we're down, but yet there's still some level of human in the loop on these things. But, hey, instead of me waking up groggy-eyed at 2 a.m. to triage an incident, what if I just woke up to a summary saying, "Hey, Joel, thanks for answering the call. Here's what I found out so far with my 15 minutes of investigation while you were still brushing your teeth and opening your laptop," right?
Booting up.
Yeah, booting up. Like I found that there's a pod in the central cluster that's having a problem. It looks like there was a recent deployment. Do you want me to roll back? Yes, roll back. Okay, like thinking like that, and then that kind of goes back to the practical AI flow of like that's something practical that we could do to implement AI. Right? You don't have to change yourself to be a data engineer do all that stuff.
Yeah, and we had I do think Port in particular, because so Matan Grady, I think his name, yeah, from Port was on the podcast, and we talked to him, and I definitely think they are thinking in the right direction of being an AI native, AI first, platform. So they're doing a good job there. They pulling on that thread though. So let's say the LLM or whatever does the investigation, notices there's a pod in distress or whatever. Does it need to wake you up? When does it not need to wake you up anymore? What are the things we're comfortable saying? Okay, try restarting it. Is there like a run book for the LLM where we would have level 1 support in the past? Does the LLM take over level 1 support? It kills the pod, lets it restart. Everything's fine. I don't have to wake Joel up now, but if it escalates from there, I have to go and wake him. Are we going to get to that?
I would like to believe that there's probably a lot of low hanging fruit that could be automated. I think the question is going to be obviously I think that this is where we, like, as creators, need to understand where we implement it. Again, I literally was talking about AI for the last 30 minutes of this call. I'm not an AI denier, but I think we also have to recognize at a certain point, when do we let it take action, right? I can tell you right now, I have a lot of low hanging fruit that I don't mind if I don't ever get woken up. But if the production database is having a bad time, yeah, even if it's not me working on it, I want to know what's going on. I want to see exactly what's being done. I don't want to find out the AI said, "Hey, we should totally revamp this table and create indexes," without letting you know. Like,
Let me
right?
drop that
Like,
table and recreate it for you.
you stupid human, you don't know
Yeah.
what you're doing. Like,
What were you thinking? I can
yes,
fix that.
exactly. So that to me is, I guess, the definition. I think that there's a lot of low hanging fruit that it can help solve. The biggest value would be that if it can eliminate a lot of low hanging fruit for us to focus on with figuring that out. I think that's the main way I
Yeah.
see it right now.
I think it's a matter of just building trust over time. And it's funny that, like, you look at like a lot of the mechanisms for, having AI, check to make sure it's doing the right thing and not, going outside guardrails. It's funny. It's being written by AI companies. The answer to making sure AI doesn't go off the rails is more AI, checking on AI. So you have more and more token usage going up and up and up. It's funny how that works. Weird. But I don't know how I feel about that. It's like grading your own homework kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we are going to be human in the loop for quite some time for those workload. We just have to build trust. I don't think we have that trust yet, because it does do some really stupid things. Hallucinations are still very real in very convincing ways. So it'll be a bit before we develop that trust on the crucial workloads and workflows.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents. All right. Well, that does it for the kind of the main section here of the chat for us. Let's move on to the segment of the show, Ship It or Skip It.
Ship or skip, everybody, we gotta tell us if you ship or skip.
What about AI for code reviews?
I think let's just ship it. I think it's a solid one. I think kind of goes back to the same tone I said. It's good. Just don't rely on it exclusively, right? Like, make sure you review what they said, right? It does a good summary, but you're still the one approving it.
Yeah, I mean, like, what about, like, is static code analysis, is that still useful? Like Sonar Cube type stuff, is that still useful in the generative AI world?
I think from a visibility and reporting perspective, yeah, these tools, if it's just tools talking to tools, but at the end of the day, something needs to be able to generate that and review that. I mean, I think certainly they're going to evolve, but I think it's going to come down to how we report and review what these things are offering us. It's going to be the big thing.
Yeah, I think the good thing about like those static code analysis tools is they do it in a consistent way every time. Right? So there's
Basically.
some
At least they have
determinism
rules,
there.
standards, right?
Yeah. So they are more deterministic. So you get a bit of an objective view. So maybe you could use LLMs for this kind of stylistic things, whereas you might use static for bugs and whatnot. We touched a little bit on this, but I'm interested to know, like, when it comes to IDPs, is that something like, are you putting money in an IDP these days in your organization, or do you invest those funds in another place right now? What's your stance on that these days?
We invest in it. We invest in it partially because I think it still is going to unlock our agentic strategy of building these tools for developers, right? We
Okay.
still have a delivery team. That delivery team is still going to be the one building these good experiences in partnership with our development teams. Sometimes the developer says, "Hey, I want this workflow." The delivery team could go build it and roll it out to the world. It's kind of like AI code reviews. If you're not using a GitHub Copilot, let's say you have to build it yourself, that could be a good experience as to how to, like, automate these things. I think it's a ship it. I ship it very tightly on the fact of start thinking about the interface, because the interface your developers are working in is rapidly evolving. Gone are the days of go to the console and do everything there. I think they're looking for a more integrated experience.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. And I think the platform development teams and the product teams that are out there and the product companies, they're wise enough to be looking down the road. They're being a little disrupted, right? I mean, if I'm a developer portal and everybody's saying, well, we're not going to have developers anymore, code generation is taking over for some of the developer stuff. Hopefully they're looking ahead enough to know that, if there's a fork in the road for them, they need to take it. So yeah, I think it'll evolve to be the right thing. There may be a little bit of a tweener stage for us where it's like, okay, I've got AI agents writing a lot of code, but so they don't need a developer portal themselves, right? They might need an MCP server, but they don't need a developer portal to go interact with. Anyway, what about we had a discussion about this. We recorded a podcast yesterday. I don't know, sometime. GraphQL, maybe it was today. I don't know. These things. I have 3 recordings today. We're doing 3 podcast recordings today. GraphQL. What do you think about GraphQL?
Man, I gotta be careful.
Come on. No, come on. Say it. Just kidding.
It is extremely powerful. I've seen it used extremely well in proper orgs, but I've also seen a lot of historically poorly implemented graph implementations. And they often lead to a lot of, I will say technically it's a ship because it does really well when it performs well. But when it comes to adoption and not thinking of it like a REST API, understanding the difference between REST and graph, that's kind of where if you are going to do it, be very sure why you're doing it and don't just do it because your framework of choice just supports it, right? Understand the implications of it. So again, I'm not a graph denier in some regards, but I think that I would say I'm an optimist, but I've seen a lot of things get forced into what really could have just been a very simple CRUD API, if that makes sense.
You heretic. Now, I'm with you on GraphQL. I think my experience has been, and it's just based on where I've been and what the shops I've been involved with, where people are using GraphQL. One of the big selling points is, I can just select which data I want. I only need these 3 fields or these or these. My experience has been that's not leveraged, right? It's like everybody sold the whole behavior-driven design stuff, Gherkin and all that. Business people can write the tests. We don't need, to write, that never happened either, right? Some of these things just don't come to fruition. It's a neat idea that, I can just slice and dice the data of the graph and can bring back the exact fields I need. And I don't need a developer to go off and create me a new API. I can just slice and dice it however I want. I haven't really seen that come to fruition. As you said, they kind of just treat it as a REST API, and they're like, I bring back the whole shape, and I'll just use what I get. That's kind of how they do it. So, I don't know, that's been my experience.
Part of my skepticism kind of falls in the sense of, if you ever have a problem with graph, just remember that it's always 200 okay.
I don't like that. Yeah.
No, it's just like debugging graph services can be nightmarish at times too, because your payloads, traditionally where you saw 500 alerts, 400 alerts, 300, 200s, you need to have a solidified way of monitoring graph. It's more than just building graph; it's day 2 operations. That's again why I'm a little skeptical on it. I think there's certainly been great implementations out there. I've seen great blog articles. I've seen great videos on it. But in practice, it's a maturity.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Along the same lines of my experience, what I've seen in the field is it's not adopted and used in the vision in which it was sold.
Yes.
Maybe a fair way to say it. Okay. What about, we talked a little bit about this, but are you bullish? Do you like the idea of having LLMs in the loop on, monitoring your Kubernetes clusters, for instance, your infrastructure? Is that a thing you're ship it, or are you kind of like, I don't know. Where are you at on that?
I think it's a ship it. I don't see this any different than, I think it's just, we're taking our time series data and just asking questions of it, right? It's a time series database, just asking it to look for trends. I think there's something there. I think it could get very expensive very quickly, but if you do it right and you figure out how to interface, to create the interfaces for it, like the Grafana example earlier, like maybe it's not maybe looking at the exact data, but it's creating the query for that data. There's some value in it, I think, for sure. I think it'll definitely make the data more accessible, I'd say. I know that I'd say halfway decent at some PromQL, but I know once it starts going into like pipes and operators, that's when I start Googling around or rather Clauding or ChatGPT around. So I think, yes, I think there's value in there for sure. I think I see it as just making data more accessible. So yeah, I can see it being good to ship it.
Because because you have access to seemingly all of the data that would be necessary for this job function. SREs. I feel like I've got it out for SREs for some reason. I don't, but like this conversation went that way. All of the data is there that an SRE would typically want to look at for, making sure you got all of things are running smoothly. And if they start to degrade, as you said, looking at trends and those sort of things, it's kind of like in the SRE wheelhouse. Can an SRE's job be automated with an LLM? Could they take over some of that like analytics part, watching the graphs and making sure that if there's any degradations, alerting people to that? Could that be automated?
I think it could automate away the annoying part of an SRE in some regards of just watching a dashboard 100%. I mean, if we think that SRE is just looking at dashboards all day, I think that's a little dated, in my opinion, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I have a giant 65-inch monitor here with a Grafana dashboard monitoring some things from work right now.
That's
but
exactly
like,
what I'm doing,
but
though.
but am I like 24/7 just looking at that line right there? I don't know. Like, I'm gonna miss something. I'm a human. Okay? I'm gonna step away and go get lunch. I'm gonna come back and find out there was a 15-minute blip that I didn't have
Right.
enough of a tuned alert for. Now,
Right.
can the AI who's always running do that check for me? 100%. So I think like that's where I think there's a lot of value in it. Can it replace an SRE? I don't know. Because like ultimately an SRE is the one defining some of these roles and functions, right? Like you have to translate what you're monitoring to what that actually means as an impact. So I think that's like the role of SRE. It's evolving it a little bit, I would say.
Yeah, I think that the other side of that is taking that knowledge, the results of that analysis, and working with the teams to evolve the product to address it, to get ahead of some of those issues as they're starting to crop up. That's kind of that other side of the coin from that SRE. It's not, like you said, it's not just watching those dashboards. There's more to it. There is an E part of of that. Yeah, there's an engineering aspect that they get involved in and working closely with the teams. But that I do think that monitoring that could help them kind of, the analogy I use is give them that magnet to help them find the needle in the haystack. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that is it for Ship It or Skip It. That was awesome. So this is something, we're going to be throwing you a bit of a curveball here. The lightning round. We tell all of our guests, this is the meat of the show. This is what people tune in for. Likely the people who are listening to this right now probably didn't listen to your bio, probably didn't listen to us talk about all the cool stuff and KubeCon. They missed all of that. They fast forwarded through that. They didn't do Ship It or Skip It. They're like, give me the lightning round.
It's time for the lightning round. Rapid fire, don't slow down. Answer quick and make it count. In this game, there's no way out. It's time for the lightning round.
This is where the answers count. We're going to be asking very pointed questions, and the answers will count. They matter. There are right and wrong answers to these questions. We have a scoring algorithm for this, and it's very rigorous. There's artificial intelligence involved because it's, everybody does. We'll share with you what the results were. It takes a few weeks to run it through all the algorithms and all the compute that it costs. We can't afford to run it all at once. I say all that because I want to make sure you're prepared mentally for the lightning round. Are you mentally prepared, Joel? Have you prepared yourself?
I think I'm as ready as I'll be. I'm excited to give this a go.
Yeah, I just want to make sure people understand that they're ready to take on, the seriousness of this event.
Let this be a lesson for the future people coming on this.
Absolutely.
Don't mess up like Joel did.
Yeah, you got to take this serious. Have you ever tasted soap?
Intentionally or like unintentionally? No.
There's no more context.
I've never gone out of the way, but like, have I gotten suds in my face washing, my mouth after washing my face? Probably, yeah. But not like, ooh, I can't wait to put Head and Shoulders. I don't know about that. Like, so no, I'll say no confidently, but like accidentally, maybe.
Now, when I was a kid, back in my day, when you said a dirty word, your parents might wash your mouth out with soap. Maybe that's what this is intended for. I don't know. But you can interpret the question however you want.
That's true. Yeah, suds, wash your mouth.
All right, and I'm going to get to this one because this is something we've been asking. We have a little bit of a social experiment going on here at the /. We've been asking this question consistently of our guests. Do you like the smell of gasoline?
My uncle got a 1965 Mustang. We were driving home, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm kind of tired." It's like, "Oh yeah, it's just gas fumes." And then he started getting tired. It's like, "Oh wait a second, we got to pull over. Like that's not good. Don't wake up, wake up, wake up. It's not good for you. So don't go out inhaling gas." But it does have it has a unique smell to it.
Okay, so you do like the smell of gasoline, but you acknowledge that it's not good for you.
I acknowledge it's not good for you. Honestly, I don't have a gas car anymore, so I kind of miss it a little bit. You
No
know what I
gas
mean?
cars, all
No
electric in
gas.
your house.
I have all electric now. Yeah,
No kidding. Is
yeah.
it really cheaper?
Yes, I'd say generally from a maintenance perspective, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's some trade-offs. I mean, like I definitely feel range anxiety. I'm the kind of person that if my phone's at like 90%, I'm plugging it in. So like, I'm probably the worst person to own an electric car. So yeah,
You're going to be running one of those generators on the hood or whatever, with gas generator to charge it as you go.
yeah, exactly.
Now,
Yeah, yeah.
I have a buddy who lives out in San Luis Obispo in California, and he's always had solar and all this stuff. He had one of those early on, an electric vehicle, and he was showing me like he hasn't paid for gasoline in like a long time. And like he sometimes collects so much solar energy that he sells it back to the grid. So in the case like that, if you're doing it with all that stuff, I guess eventually once it pays itself off, like if you're net positive at the end of the day, that's pretty cool. I could get into that. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, it's cool to see innovations in this for sure. I mean, it's going from a dream to an honest reality. It could be an expensive reality, but a reality nonetheless.
I don't have a Tesla vehicle, but I am a Tesla stockholder, so I'm happy to hear that people are buying electric cars.
Hey, we got Rivians here in Chicago, in Illinois too. I think
Yeah.
they're moving here, and I think
Rivians
there's
are
a Lucid
they look
and
cool.
stuff.
I
Yeah.
like Rivian. They're cool looking. Get on the serious stuff. Now we're getting into silly stuff now. Let's get serious again. All right, cake, or are you a cake or a pie kind of a guy?
Ooh, I'm a pie guy. I don't know, like nothing beats like an apple pie. Like cake is good, but I've just been burned by so many appealing looking cakes that tasted mid versus like a pie that's always been generally good. Right? Like I mean, like that's like my balance there. Like I don't think I've had a bad pie, but I've certainly had bad cake.
Yeah, cake can be dry. You
Yeah,
don't get that
or like
problem
very
with cake, with
lacking
pie.
flavor. Yeah, the filling is like mysterious. Like you cut into like a chocolate looking cake, and then you get like strawberry. You're like, ugh, what
Yeah.
is this? Like,
Yeah, it's like false advertising. I don't like that. Now, I did have a pie one time. My grandmother, man, this is hilarious. My grandmother accidentally put salt instead of sugar in her chocolate cream pie. And she had an amazing chocolate cream pie, but boy, was that disappointing. That was nasty.
does
Yeah.
not sound good to me.
Yeah, it was not good. Okay, what's the maximum number of spritzes of perfume before it's too much? Or cologne, however you want to do it.
I'd say no more than the three.
No more than 3.
3 or 4.
4 is right out. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Like I'd say like at 4, you're like, all right, are you taking a bath? Or are you like just
Yeah.
trying to touch up?
Yeah, maybe
Usually
a
it's like
shower.
Wrist, neck,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, if you have to go more than 3, maybe shower. Get a good shower in, and then maybe spritz a couple on, and then we're good, right? That's okay. I can get down with that. Are you the kind of guy who Instagrams your food? You sit down and take a picture first before you eat? Are you that guy?
I've slowly come into someone who's taking photos of their food. Certainly not. I don't tweet it to the world.
Okay.
Unless it's like something very special. I went to the Michael Jordan restaurant and I had the goat drink, and that's a Gold Flake whiskey drink. Yeah. Thanks, Microsoft.
Yeah, you're taking a picture of that.
Yeah.
That's understandable. You gotta take a picture of that. Are you a dark chocolate or a milk chocolate kind of a person?
This one is interesting. Funny enough,
It's very controversial.
This is the end of the year where every vendor in the world sends you I'd like to think that I am in a night in. I am a dark chocolate guy. On the road, as about, I like a milk chocolate. Like a milk chocolate's like a more fun, like kind of candy. Dark chocolate's like I'm gonna watch a movie, and I don't really want to eat a lot of it. I just want to have a little bit of it and enjoy it. Like I feel like I could temper myself more. Going into semantics of like food eating here, but I could temper myself more with dark chocolate, where I'm not craving to eat like a ton of it because of that bitterness of it. Whereas if a milk chocolate, if you're not careful, you're gonna lose a half a bag of milk chocolate Skittles.
Yeah.
Or not
you're
Skittles,
gonna go-
M&Ms.
Yeah, you can go overboard for sure.
Yeah.
Now, have you tried? My daughter said for her birthday or something, she was like, "Oh, I want Dubai chocolate." Have you tried this?
No, and it's a fad. I don't know, man. It's just there's too much. Like Dubai chocolate started as is like, it's too much. I don't know. I'm sure it tastes well. I'm sure some people like it, but like I don't know, the whole pistachio / I don't know. It's also I don't know. To me, it's a little unappealing. It's expensive and also a little unappealing. I kind of just like when I think chocolate, I just think like chocolate, not
Chocolate.
not
Maybe
like
some caramel, something.
sure, some filling.
caramel.
Okay.
Now, I don't think we could find it for her birthday. However, I was in the grocery store around Christmas time and I saw it on the shelf and it was like $15 for a bar of this chocolate. Now in Chicago, you're like, yeah, whatever, right? Like that's what a bar of chocolate costs. I'm just kidding. But it was expensive. I'm like, all right, I got to try this, right? So I bought it. I tasted it. It's all right. Yeah. I mean, I still take a zero bar over that any day. And if anybody doesn't know what a zero bar is, you're missing out. It's really good. Most people don't. I think it's like from the South or something. You don't see it everywhere, but zero bar, that's the way to go. But anyway, yeah, I tried it. Like, okay, it ain't worth 15. Okay.
It's at Costco now. If you want it in bulk, you can go buy it.
Like, yeah, okay. All right. Costco. That's right. I get a lot of my stuff there. Hey, I feel like this would be a good one for you. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at trivia?
Man, it depends on the subject, but I'd probably say I'm a middle of the ground. I'm a 5 or 6.
You know what I thought? I thought you'd be higher than that. I thought you'd be around an 8.
I thought I'd be higher than that too until I started going to pub trivia. And then I realized I have no idea what I'm talking about. And also, I can't hear them half the time because the audio bar is too loud. It's extremely fun. I'm like the kind of person like who can keep the conversation going on like a stumped topic. Or like, no, what was the movie? Like, that person who needs to keep the thought, the collective brain juices of the squad going. But like when it comes to like, oh yeah, that's Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Very rarely am I going to be the guy who just one drops the answer.
So you're right in the middle though.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle.
But you're not the ace of
no, definitely not.
All right. Which animal adds more joy to the world? Squirrels or llamas?
Come on, really?
Hey, I don't make these up. I just report the news.
They're both good. I like them both. They're funny animals. I'll say squirrels because I see them more often.
Okay,
but like when you see a llama, you're just like, it's like, what the hell? Why do you have a little fro on his head? It's like kind of cute. Like, I don't know. If you're a llama lover, sorry, but I'm going to say squirrels. I see them more here in Chicago than anything else.
You don't get a lot of llamas in your parts around there?
Unfortunately, no. They migrate south for the winter.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Or north in some regards because they're actually.
Yeah. Okay, let's find a final question here. I've got a whole list here. Okay, this might be a good one. What's the most number of hours you've watched TV in a single day?
What was the last? I think I'd say 3 hours. I'm not a binge watcher.
Okay, 3 hours.
Yeah, 3-4 hours. I've watched I'm using like the most recent thing of Stranger Things.
Okay. Yeah.
But like usually like around like the 4-hour mark, I'm like, do I do another episode? And it's not even about being late at night or whatever. Like I know some people like overnight, like, oh, I went to bed at 4 a.m. watching that show. Like I can't do that. Like even when I start graduating from like watching it on the TV to watching it on a tablet, it's like when I'm like, all right, should I do something else? Should I stop? Like, yeah. So I'd say about 4 hours. I'm not a binge watcher, unfortunately.
Yeah, there was a day in college, and if my roommates are listening, they'll remember this very vividly. We were all hungover, and we sat there and watched. I don't know if you remember this. There was a movie called The Deliberate Stranger. I think it wasn't a movie; it was like a mini series. It was the Ted Bundy story. Mark Harmon was Ted Bundy. We watched the entire mini series, just laid there, hungover watching this, and that's probably the most I can think of. I don't think we've asked this question before. But yeah, if I'm thinking back, that's probably the most I've sat in one place and watched television. It's probably 12 hours or something.
Yeah, I'm looking at it here. I see there's two episodes.
Was that it? It felt like all day. Maybe with commercials.
No, it's 2 episodes, but I think that they're a little bit lengthier. It's not like a episode where it's 30 minutes today. It's like I think they're like a movie.
Yeah, it was. We were there all day. It was a long hangover. Mm-hmm. It was a good night. So yeah. All right. Anything coming up for you guys with the Aspen Group, or anything? Are you giving a talk anytime soon? Are you have a book coming out? Are you starring in a Broadway show? Anything like that going on in your near future you'd like to share with the audience?
No, I mean I'm going to be speaking more this upcoming year, personally, and then I'll have to go into some professional stuff. Personally, I'm going to be. Last year I became a Google developer expert in modern architecture.
Nice.
I'm one of the few in the Chicago area. So I'm going to be speaking. I actually got to speak at Detroit in November. Yeah, sometime in November. I was there for a conference. That was cool. The Michigan Dev Fest. I'm going to be speaking at more events here in the city. We're going to be traveling a little bit more in the Midwest and beyond. I'm going to be in April, I think, in Vegas. Hopefully, helping with some of the Google Cloud Next stuff there too. So yeah, you'll see me around. I'll still be on LinkedIn. Follow me there because that's where I usually post my my articles, my frustrations, my shout outs. Yeah. I've been called the millennial manager in some regards because like, when people have issues with their American Airlines ticket, they go to like, Twitter or whatever and talk with the Twitter bot. I'm pretty good at like calling it as it is when there's a problem with fundamental things. So check me out there. I'm also doing more YouTube videos this year as well. But no, professionally, I mean, we're doing some great things at the Aspen Group. I mean, as a whole, we're again taking that whole agentic journey. We were building our AI strategy last year and kind of putting it into action this year. I think I don't even say we're late to the game. We were talking about it. I think we're right at the cusp of where everything is accessible and we can enable a lot of great things for patients with some of our key partners. So I think really excited to see the things that we can do for our dentistry groups, our beauty clinics, our urgent care clinics, our vet businesses. I think there's some pretty cool things we're looking to implement in the next year.
Cool. All right. Well, it's been a joy having you back on the show. I mean, we've had you on before. This was fantastic again, of course. So come back anytime. If you're in Cincinnati, let us know. We have a user group down here that you might be interested in presenting at. So maybe we'll get you to come in town, get to see you face to face.
That'd be kind of cool. I'll keep that in mind. Actually, I think there actually is an Ohio Dev Fest, I believe, too. So maybe you should. I'll keep you in the loop on that for sure.
All right. Yeah. Well, again, thanks for joining us again. We really enjoyed the conversation. It was awesome.
Cool. Thank you so much, James, for having me, and good luck on the rest of the year. See you around, y'all.
Yeah. If you'd like to get in touch with us here at the /, drop us a line at the / at Calibrity.com. See you next time. The / podcast is created by Calibrity. The / team is director and producer Ryan Wilson, editing by Steve Baradelli, marketing support by Taylor Blessing, and I'm your host, James Carmen. Thanks for listening.